Hey, good morning, Pete, North Las Vegas. Going to try to keep this video short. I recently purchased this Wilson expanding mandrel, and I got it in two calibers, 223-556 and 308-762 by 51 NATO. This one I'm going to be testing out today just to see what it does is the 223. But before we get started with all that, I got to get this thing out of the way. And for those of you that have never maybe owned a Corvette, the one way you keep your maintenance and repair bills down to a minimum is just don't drive them. Anyway, I'm the original owner of this thing. It's a 2001. Okay, so top speed on this particular model back when I bought it was about 170. And when I drive this car at about 100 miles an hour, it's not even breathing hard. Anyway, watch out for flying parts. I'm getting ready to start this thing.
It's Saturday, February 12th. 8 p.m. for your favorite live tribute to the best soft rock.
Okay, well, while the money pit is warming up, we'll get this bench cleaned up and then we'll get started on the Wilson mandrel, which is what this video is really supposed to be about. Okay, so we're going to get sidetracked one more time before we get started on the L.E. Wilson mandrel die. And what I wanted to mention was, if you order dies from RCBS, they are selling kits in 4 different rifle calibers, if I remember right, and 4 different pistol calibers. In addition to getting carbide die set, they give you a shell holder with the dies, and you get primers. And I won't say it's like a great deal as far as the dollar amount, but if you need some dies and you would like to get some primers, RCBS has a special kit deal going on, at least as of about 3 days ago. I'm assuming that it's still available. Okay, so we're going to be handling a lot of precision case gauges and chamber gauges, and some of this stuff is kind of a little bit on the pricey side. So I've been meaning to get a good rubber mat, but I just haven't got around to it for like 10 or 12 years. So anyway, I tripled up some used towels here, and in case I drop something, I'm not going to, hopefully not going to damage anything. Okay, so let's get into the mandrel die. If you look at the write-up here, I had a commenter saying that, you know, when he went to the L.E. Wilson site, they kind of were saying that this was mainly for new brass. But if you also look down here on their instructions, and if you look at their website, you drill down into some of their descriptions, it also says, however, the uses for the die are not limited to this specific operation. So I wanted to find out exactly what all this meant. And I talked to a girl at their tech support, and she was saying that so long as you clean the inside of the brass, the neck area, and you get that cleaned up pretty well, that using it on once fired, twice fired, or even semi-dirty brass is not going to hurt the mandrel, sorry. So even though they kind of promote this for new brass, she said it can be used for reloading also. Okay, so why did I decide to go with a mandrel and try that for sizing the neck? Well, I usually load to SAAMI specs, and I'm not too concerned about trying to precision load, but I decided that this time around that I was going to try to get more precise and accurate with neck tension around the bullet. So that was one reason I decided to give a mandrel a try. Now, on your full length sizing dies, if you're new to reloading, what you can do is you can drive this part here. You can drive the ball mandrel. I should have had this unscrewed before I started this damn thing, but whatever. Okay, come on. Okay, so this is your ball that sizes the neck on your brass when you full length size if you're new to reloading. And what you can do is you can adjust this to where it comes down further inside the die housing, to where you're no longer sizing the entire piece of brass, but you're just opening up that neck. And I've decided that 2/1000 is the neck tension that I want. So rather than use my full length die and drill this down far enough to where it's not, like I said, not actually sizing the entire piece of brass, but just opening up the neck. The reason I went to the Mandrel was I took a very accurate micrometer and measured the balls on both my RCBS and my Dillon die. And they were out around anywhere from about 2 10,000ths all the way up to about 5, 6, 7 10,000ths, almost 1,000th of an inch. So using the full length sizing die and this ball part of the Mandrel expander wasn't going to give me the kind of concentricity I was looking for on the ID, and wasn't going to give me exactly the 2/1000ths that I was looking for. So that was the primary reason for picking the Mandrel versus trying to use my full length sizing die. And then the other reason is I've decided to go to electric trimming, and this is Dillon's full length sizing die that's specifically used for their trimmer. And this thing does everything except size the neck, because you can't have anything in the center of the neck when you're trying to trim it using this electric trimmer. So as this comes up here, you still, when you're done trimming, full length sizing and getting this piece of brass ready, it won't do the neck. So that is why we're going to try out this L.E. Wilson. Okay, so I'm not going to get into a bunch of detail on how to set up your full length sizing die. There's a crap load of videos on YouTube about how to do that already. But anyway, I'm going to take the full length sizing die that's used with this electric trimmer, and we're going to get that mounted into the press. And before I do that, I'm going to take a Q-tip, and we're going to get a little bit of case lube inside the die, and then we're going to get this unsized piece of brass into the die. And I purposely picked a dented one because I also want to see not only neck tension, but how well the Wilson Mandrel will straighten out that ding after we size this brass. So let me get this die into the press after I get some lube on it, and then we'll size it and see where we're at. And then after I size it, I'm going to use some case gauges and some chamber gauges, make sure that the brass is at least full length size correctly. And then that way I can hopefully make a determination of where we're at on neck tension using the Mandrel. Anyway, hope that all makes sense. Okay, so here's that dinged up piece of brass I was showing you in the previous clip, and got it all lubed up. So we're going to size it. And we're going to go check it on going to check it on all three of these gauges. I have a Dillon case gauge, I have a Wilson chamber gauge, and I have a Sheridan chamber gauge. And we'll show you the differences in gauges and talk about that a little bit. But you can see just by full length sizing it, it took some of that ding out. It's still there. So we're going to put this brass in these gauges here and see how well we did on sizing it. And then once we get this sized to where I think it's pretty good, then we're going to put the L.E. Wilson on here and straighten out the neck. And hopefully we get around 2/1000ths neck tension, which is pretty much the whole reason I bought this Mandrel die. Okay, so the Dillon case gauge is showing good head spacing now. That turned out really nice. The correct way to use these is to put this on a flat surface instead of holding it with your finger, to give you an idea if the brass needs to be trimmed. And you can see it's sticking up using my finger, but I know from experience that if I put this on a flat surface that's still sticking up enough using my finger to where this needs to be trimmed. But we'll verify that with the calipers. So we'll take a quick measurement just to see where we're at. In case you're not familiar with 223/556, Correct trim length is 1.750, so we'll see where we're at using the calipers. Okay, so according to SAAMI specs, 6.0 is maximum, and we're sitting at about 6.5. Trim length is 5.0. So this piece of brass would have to be trimmed over 10 thousandths. And so anyway, let's get this thing into the Wilson and see what happens to the neck. I'm going to do a quick measurement on the neck right now, even though it's kind of dinged up, just to get some general idea where we're at. I'm not going to show that on camera just because it's dinged, so it won't be a good measurement. Okay, I decided to show this anyway. It actually came in around 2.210, or where it's sitting right now, other than the actual dinged area. So it measured better than I thought it would with that ding in it. So anyway, the goal is 222. So that will give us a 2,000th neck tension on a 224 bullet, which is 223.556. So anyway, let's get the Wilson set up in the press and see how this mandrel does. Okay, sizing check. Sheridan says we're good. Went right in there, and it says the head spacing is good too. And the one thing I like about the Sheridan is this cutout. So you can actually see what's going on with the brass in this minimum SAAMI spec chamber. Okay, Wilson, minimum chamber. Wilson agrees with the Sheridan. Head spacing looks good on the Dillon. All right, let's get this mandrel going. Okay, put a little case lube inside. Working through my phone, so that's why I can't get it. And we're going to put a little bit of case lube on the mandrel. We're going to get the mandrel screwed in here and see what happens on that brass. Okay, I think I might have it adjusted kind of sort of like where it needs to be. You can see the mandrel inside the die there, and we'll see where it goes when I come up here with the, and it's gonna need a little help getting lined up. Okay, there we go. All right, well, let's see what happens. Okay, felt a little resistance. And seeing how this was dinged up, I'm gonna turn the brass and just kind of make sure that, now, I don't know if I mentioned it in the first video, but Ellie Wilson makes the mandrel right at 223 because they are accounting for spring back on the brass. So if you open up the neck temporarily to 223, it should spring back to 222. Anyway, that's the goal here. And I felt a little bit of resistance. So I'm going to leave it up there for a second or two, just for that spring back thing. All right, let's do some brass measurements to see where we're at. Okay, so I measured in 2 or 3 places, and it's coming in at 221. And that's pretty close. These are cheap calipers. They're not the most accurate. So we are really close to the goal of 2,000ths. We're sitting at about 3,000ths neck tension, which is, I'm okay with that too. But we're not done measuring yet. I'm going to use this and see what this thing says. Okay, so using the Ballistic Tools neck sizing gauge, I'm somewhere between 0.221 and 0.224. You can see that the brass, focus, hasn't gone over the 224, and it's a little bit snug. Well, I won't say snug, but I'd say it's probably, those calipers are probably pretty close. So between my Ballistic Tools gauge and a set of calipers, I would say we are very, very close to the goal of 222, which gives us 2,000ths neck tension. So overall, I would say for me, this mandrel die has been a success. and it's going to do what I wanted it to do as far as neck tension. So anyway, apologize for the another one of my unrehearsed videos, but hopefully I gave you enough to go on here so that you can see that if this is something you're interested in, it does work. All right, Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.